Here's a cool little gizmo. This is a Narragansett Arms reproduction of a Ferguson screw barrel. And I guess the idea was you screw that down, dump the ball in it, pour a little bit of powder in it, lock it up and rock. The issue why we're here today is that this is such a faithful reproduction of a Ferguson that they copied all of the engineering flaws. We got to fix those flaws, so let's get on down the rabbit hole and talk about why this has failed, they've all failed, and why this is pretty badass. So one of the real big problems we're having here is recoil management. In this particular gun, there's a lot of wood missing in this gun. It's all missing in order to accommodate everything that's sticking down here. So let's take this out here for a minute. So in order to accommodate this, that slides down in there. Well, the problem is when this gun was inletted, they made a couple of mistakes, and all the original issues with the gun is still there. These keys, the barrel is not free to slide back and forth on the keys, so most of the recoil was coming down the walls of this stock. Well, this is incredibly thin right here. I mean, this is only, maybe a 1/4 of an inch thick right here. So the entire gun, because it's on your shoulder, wants to come this way and it wants to go that way. And what that looks like is right here, you can see this crack right here. This gun it's opening up and it's popping. And what's happening was there's an outward thrust on this when it's up against your shoulder that taffy pulled this. That crack radiates all the way around. It even comes up here inside the powder chamber cutout. So we got to do a little bit of acroglass in here in order to get this to work right. So I've got to try to make a repair that will run in tension. So I don't need a really thick rod. So we're going to drill a hole probably from here to here, have this run along the bottom, and then exit into a hole up here. And you can see I've already drilled that hole. Let me see if I can get down into it here. There we go. I've already drilled that hole. That piece will actually get all the way up inside there. We're going to try to tie all this together because as we saw, the blow goes all the way through and eventually it'll destroy it. And every Ferguson out there was exactly the same way. Long term, what I'm thinking I'm going to do is do this repair to stop it from dying. Make sure that the barrel is free to float back and forth and glass bed this entire recoil lug so that the recoil goes into the bolster right here. And we take the fore end out of the recoil business and all it's doing is holding the ramrod pipes up against the bottom of the barrel. So the objective here is going to be to run this hole down this way because I want to eject down here underneath the trigger plate. What I don't want to do is blow out of this concavity. What I have to do is miss the trigger shoe. It's going to go right in here that pushes up on a sear. So I have to come in over the top of the trigger pinhole, underneath the sear, miss the slot, and have the hole exit out here without interfering with that wood screw. Yeah, alrighty then. Now I'm going to put my finger right here, and the reason why my finger's here is because if I feel that drill bit get near the surface, I'm going to stop. Because cosmetically, this weapon has to remain undiminished. It is a movie prop, and what it looks like is almost as important as what it does. Well, how about that, huh? That's pretty sporty. So I've cut a couple of notches in the bottom of this for the glue to hang on to. And same thing here, there's a couple of notches right here that I cut. Bent the rod so that it will then insert into that hole and stick out down below there, and it will pull it back enough to allow this to pop up inside the hole up in the front and then fill it all up full of acroglass. So in order to prep that channel, I just did a little bit of cutting with this rotary cutter, and I've cut a channel away. Well, you're removing wood and it makes it weak. No, not really. It already snapped. There's no structural integrity here at all. This is just an essence of wood sheath. And when I fill all this in and then I put the steel reinforced in front of it, it'll be 3 times stronger than it was. All right, I'm going to glass this thing up, and we're going to move on to the next problem, which is going to be the fact that that hole to screw the lock down is drilled all the way into the powder chamber, and we're wondering why the screw keeps getting spit out. I have the breech plug out of this thing, and we're looking up inside the chamber at where you would roll the ball down and it would touch the rear end of the rifling. So the chamber is 680 thousandths across, and that rifling is about 620 across the grooves and about 600 across the lands is what it mic'd out at. But I just wanted to show you this picture, and then the screw would kind of go in this way. Let's see here. So let's see if we can see the screw coming across. So there goes the screw, and then that just closes off the breech. Okay, there you go. So when you turn the knob, it just kind of locks it up like a bank vault. All right, let's get back to a little more conventional view of things. Quick and dirty here. The inside of the barrel is shaped like this. The inside of the powder chamber is shaped like this. You've got this great big screw gizmo that comes up through a hole back here, and then you've got a breech plug that sits in the back here, like that, right? And then that screws into the back there. Okay, so that's sitting up there like that. You've got this chamber. So when you drop this out of the way, we're going to drop the ball in, and the ball is going to sit right here. And then we're going to pour loose gunpowder in the back like that and run the screw back up. The bore here is about, let's see, 0.620 is the inside, and the balls we're going to run it at are 0.640. So that gives us about a 20 thousandths interference, so we can fill the rifling completely up with lead. We're going to make these nice and gooey and soft so that they'll run down and be able to load it in a relatively quick manner. And yet, as this thing begins to foul back in here, maybe we still have a standing chance of being able to throw the ball in. So the last shot, we were looking down the long axis of the barrel that way. So the breech plug comes out. Now this breech plug doesn't really hold any pressure because the screw is all the way down in front of it, you see. So when that screw's all the way in there, there isn't a whole lot of pressure on this. What had happened was, is this set of 632 threads here on this screw had become wallowed out and not running. I'm going to withdraw my previous comment about thinking that it was a pressure thing. It was more of a corrosion thing, but this plug did not fight me. It came out smooth. So the original screw is this guy right here. And then I have fabricated a replacement screw that goes in this hole here. Okay, I've rotated this up now so that you can see it. And that hole right there in the lock bolster goes in that way. So this screw holds the lock on, and this is the only thing holding the lock on is this screw right here. So when this screw had stripped, this was no longer doing its job, and it was not holding the lock plate up against the side of the gun, and the entire gun went down. There we go. That goes in there like that, and that will hold the lock up against. And then the flash goes off in the pan. There's a very shallow hole drilled right here, and this is the flash hole for the gun. Let me see if I can get something to probe it with. So as we can see, the touch hole was drilled in the right place, not at the bottom of the pan, but the touch hole is drilled at the intersection of the top line of the pan. Ignition of black powder with a flintlock is not a fuse train. We do not burn through this hole with a fuse. What we do is use infrared energy as it flashes through the hole. So let me torque this down here right quick, just so that it doesn't move around on me. I'm not putting a lot of torque on it because I need to take it right back apart again. So we can see this cut here, and the cut there, that's the vent. The vent is right here. So when this winds up into this, that access port comes up and lines up internally with the flash hole, and it cuts off the gunpowder, and now you have direct access right up against the backside of this hole. When the powder goes off in the pan, infrared energy ignites this. This hole's only maybe a 1/16 of an inch thick. Out the front end we come. All right, it's been overnight now, and all the gory details of the aqua glass went away because I got in here this morning. I beat Bruno in and just started cleaning it up to make sure it would fit. This shiny band right here is that ribbon to steel that we put in that went up to the front, and it also then dove through a hole right here and came out in the bottom. So it came out down here in the bottom of the trigger guard, right about where this pencil is. So now I have a piece of steel under tension running from about where the end of this pencil is all the way down to about where the pencil is here. And we've brought this load around this glue joint. Now this is going to be the spot right here where the furniture makers are going to pop up and tell me about all of these wonder glues out there. And they're right. And in a piece of furniture that's subjected to 1 G of gravitational acceleration, or if I sit on it, 3 Gs. But at the end of the day, a typical firearm is subjected to 10 to 20,000 Gs of load for a couple of microseconds. So under acceleration, this 10-pound weapon is going to weigh about 5 or 10 tons. You must use metal or a wooden plug to bring recoil energy around the glue joint, or else the glue joint blow that was right here will just move to right here, or it'll move to right here. You got to come around it. The front of this was tied in kind of I bent a little curly Q on it and shoved it up in there. So it's mechanically locked in by the glue. And then when I plunged out through the trigger guard, hang on a minute now, I'm going to bring this up to where you can see it. I'm looking at it in a monitor here. There it is. So you almost can't even see where the heck it came out. But it dove in through the mortise here and came out right, there's a shiny spot right there. That shiny spot was the end of that piece of metal, which I then tensioned, bent over, and peened in, and almost did it like a clench nail in a ship where I drove it back in again. So it's mechanically bound up there. It's down here, it's mechanically bound up at the front. And I'm going to tell you, it did a pretty good job of, just like I did with the Kammerlader here. I'm going to try to do this on camera. Pull all the way back, go wide and get on back. Okay. See how this stock is just bouncing on the table? Trust me, I have got this tight. There's nothing loose in here. It's just holding recoil, and that's what we're looking at. We're right about at the point now where it's time to put this pig back together again, because I got something in mind here that you might find interesting. Okay, Eric here is gonna run this thing for us. We're not loading out of this flask, guys. This is a hand grenade. So we're gonna use this piece of 45 120 brass as a powder measure. We're gonna dump a little bit of powder in here. Okay, so you're at half cock. Go ahead and just put a little bit in the pan there. Okay, I'll hold it. Got it shut? Okay, so we're gonna open up the breech, drop a ball in, and let it go to the front. Got it? Fill that sucker up and bang on it a little bit. Give it down a little bit. There you go. Got it? All right. Snap it with your hand once just to make sure the powder's in there. There you go. Go ahead and close it on up. And it's going to have to crunch the powder. Crunch, very good. Make sure it snaps shut so that we got the screw all the way up. Got it? All right, screed that off. Go to full cock and let her rip, brother. That's it, you're there. That wasn't that special. So now we're going to roll the breech, go to half cock. Okay. Open. Yeah, there you go. Get her open. Got to pull down a little bit. Okay. Ball. There you go. Comment was made off screen here about glowing embers, and that is why we don't use the powder flask. Okay, wind her on up, knock off let it click, knock off the excess, and pop off another round. Nice. It's 2 rounds in a row. Alrighty then, thank you, Eric, for letting us see that. Okay, so we're at half cock. We're dumping a little bit of prime here. Close that up. Retrieve a ball from my pocket. And we go back and do it again. Filing's starting to accumulate, but that's the basic idea. The Ferguson allowed you to fire prone. You can't fire another muzzleloader prone. Can't do it. That's all I got to say for that. And thank God it ain't rained in a while, because the last time I was here, I got soaking ass wet. All right, back in the building. There are those folks that believe that the Ferguson screw breech rifle's idea was to increase firepower by increasing rate of fire. I would tell you that I think the way the typical British military mindset worked in the 1700s was that if you wanted twice the amount of firepower, you'd stick another guy out there with another one of these. So as we've seen and demonstrated, the Ferguson rifle is beautiful for the ability to operate from cover and concealment in unusual positions. I love you guys, but it's time for a cigar. As always, a pleasure. Have a good day. Okay, so this is Colt running the Ferguson. Just that he's got a file, I haven't done it. Yeah, that'll work. Outstanding, sir. Thank you. Now, go to half cock, 1 click. Okay, pop this lever open.
This way?
Our way. Our way.
Towards me?
Yeah. There you go. Take it open. Half turn, half turn, half turn, half turn. There you go, right there. Okay. Because if you go any further, the breech block will just fall out of it, right?
Okay.
So we put a little bit of gunpowder in the pan. That primes it. Okay. Take a ball. Drop a ball down in it. Take the rest of this gunpowder, drop it in it. Now bring it up till it clicks. I mean other way. Bring it all the way up until it snaps underneath the spring. Okay. There you go. Now you got it. All right. Now, you're loaded and ready to rock, and you're back to where you were when I handed you the gun. All right. Dump one in the dirt. Cool? Outstanding. So heck, even an auto mechanic can run this thing. Let her rip, right? You're there. Ha ha! The curse of the flintlock gets us all the way back. Do it again. Here you go. Nice.